The real reason you overthink everything is not hidden in your intelligence, your personality, or your inability to just relax. It lives deeper, woven into the quiet architecture of your nervous system, shaped by moments your body still remembers, even when your mind insists you've moved on. Overthinking is not a habit you chose. It is a survival script written long ago, a code your brain relies on whenever it senses even the faintest echo of uncertainty. And uncertainty, for someone who has known unpredictability, becomes its own kind of danger. Your mind learned early that if it could anticipate everything, every tone shift, every facial expression, every possible consequence, it might be able to avoid the sting of disappointment, rejection, or chaos. So it began scanning before you could speak, interpreting before you could understand, bracing before anything even happened. What you call overthinking is actually a beautifully complex, deeply exhausted system trying to protect you from old wounds by controlling every corner of the future. Neuroscience tells us that when your amygdala senses even the smallest threat, real or remembered, it lights up as if it must save your life. Cortisol floods your bloodstream. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for calm logic, dims under the pressure, and suddenly, thinking becomes a frantic search for safety rather than a grounded exploration of ideas. Your mind is not spiraling. It is protecting you in the only way it knows how. But emotional threats don't announce themselves clearly. They whisper, they echo, they hide in familiar patterns. A delayed text feels like abandonment because somewhere in your past, silence meant danger. A small mistake feels catastrophic because perfection was once the only path to being loved. A difficult conversation feels life-threatening because conflict once meant instability. Your mind learned to think through every possibility because it believed that preparedness meant survival. And the cruel irony is this: the very strategy that once saved you now drains you. What your nervous system calls protection, your adult self experiences as anxiety, rumination, paralysis. But beneath it all, there is something tender. You are not overthinking because you don't trust the world. You are overthinking because you don't yet trust that you can handle what the world brings. There is a younger version of you who is still whispering, "Please anticipate everything, so nothing can hurt us again." And your brain listens to that whisper as if it's a command. This is why logic never fixes overthinking. You cannot outsmart a survival instinct, you can only soothe it. Because the real reason you overthink is not rooted in thought, it is rooted in fear. Fear that you will be blindsided again. Fear that you will lose something important. Fear that the other shoe will drop. Fear that you are not enough unless you calculate every variable. But here is the deeper truth. Your nervous system is reacting to what was, not what is. Your body is living in past chapters even though your mind is trying to write new ones. Overthinking is simply the alarm that goes off when the past mistakes itself for the present. And to understand this is to soften, to see your patterns not as flaws, but as adaptations. Your brain is not broken, it is brilliant. It has been running simulations, predicting outcomes, rehearsing pain, all in hopes of keeping you safe. And while these strategies were once necessary, they are no longer aligned with the life you are trying to build. Because you are no longer that child, sitting in uncertainty, waiting for the next emotional shift. You are no longer trapped in environments where you had no control. You are no longer voiceless, but your nervous system doesn't know that yet. Healing begins when you teach it. When you show your body, through presence and breath, that the danger has passed. When you give yourself the safety you never had, your brain no longer needs to overwork itself to protect you. This is why grounding practices work, not because they silence thoughts, but because they reassure the amygdala that it doesn't need to stay on high alert. This is why self-compassion is powerful, not as a cliché, but as a neurological intervention. Judging yourself keeps your brain in threat mode. Softening returns you to safety. And when safety returns, thinking changes. It slows, it widens, it becomes curiosity instead of catastrophe. Your thoughts stop trying to protect you from the future and begin guiding you gently through the present. Overthinking dissolves, not through control, but through trust. The trust that you can handle disappointment if it comes, the trust that uncertainty is survivable, the trust that you no longer have to rehearse pain to shield yourself from it. And slowly, with practice, your brain learns this new truth. Safety doesn't come from predicting everything. It comes from staying with yourself through anything. And the moment this truth begins to settle inside you, quiet, warm, grounding, you start to feel the earliest signs of freedom, as if a long-held tension is finally unclenching, as if there is more air around your thoughts, more space in your chest, more softness in your inner world, and healing begins to feel not like solving your mind, but like gently unburdening it, allowing the protective strategies you once needed to finally loosen their grip. Because beneath all the noise, beneath the spirals and the catastrophizing and the endless analyzing, there is a calmer voice waiting to emerge. A voice that knows you are safe enough now to think less frantically, feel more honestly, and step into a life where your mind can finally rest. The moment you allow yourself to meet that calmer voice, not with skepticism or urgency, but with the quiet curiosity of someone encountering a forgotten part of themselves. And in that single moment of turning inward, something begins to shift, subtle, warm, unmistakable. Your nervous system pauses, your breath deepens, and the fear that once wrapped itself around your thoughts loosens just enough for you to feel the difference between survival and presence. This is where the healing truly begins. Not at the peak of the spiral, but at the soft threshold where you choose to stay with yourself instead of abandoning your own body in search of certainty. Because the real antidote to overthinking isn't clarity, it's companionship. The companionship you offer, your own fear, when you place a hand over your heart. The companionship your breath offers your racing mind when it slows. The companionship your presence gives to the younger self inside you who once had to navigate everything alone. And as you continue to stay with your discomfort, with your trembling, with the quiet ache that lives beneath your thoughts, you begin to realize that your mind was never trying to torture you. It was trying to warn you. It was trying to protect a part of you that believed it had no one to rely on but itself. But now, you show up. And when you do, your mind no longer has to build walls of prediction or fortresses of analysis. It no longer has to run through every scenario to make sure you're prepared for the worst. It begins to trust that you can handle life as it comes. This trust changes your thinking in the deepest way. The catastrophizing softens into curiosity. The rumination melts into reflection. The panic rearranges itself into presence. And your inner world slowly reorganizes around a new truth. You don't need to think your way to safety anymore. You can feel your way there. This is the moment your brain starts creating new neural pathways. Pathways built not on fear, but on groundedness, on self-support, on compassion. And with each repetition of presence, your old wiring weakens. The spirals shorten, the noise quiets, the constant tension in your body begins to thaw. You start noticing the world more clearly, not as a threat to anticipate, but as an experience to move through. You begin sensing that you are no longer reacting from the past, but responding from the present. And this shift, though subtle, is revolutionary. Because soon, the moments that used to trigger overthinking, the pause in conversation, the unread message, the silence after saying something vulnerable, no longer send your system into alarm. Instead, they become opportunities to practice staying with yourself, to breathe, to return, to anchor. And each time you do, you reinforce the truth your nervous system is finally learning. I am safe enough to not know. The freedom in that sentence is enormous. It means you no longer have to rehearse pain to avoid it. You no longer have to script conversations before they happen. You no longer have to analyze the smallest cues for signs of danger. You get to live. Not cautiously mindful, not anxiously present, not defensively open. And as you let this new way of being root deeper into your body, a new relationship with your mind unfolds. You no longer see it as an enemy, but as a partner, one that once worked too hard, but now learns to rest. You begin to feel gratitude toward it, even tenderness, because you finally see the truth. It carried you through a time when you didn't know how to carry yourself. And now, as you step into the version of you capable of safety, capable of stillness, capable of trust, your mind can finally lay down its armor. It can soften, it can breathe, it can rest. And in that rest, you discover the quiet you've been searching for, not the silence of an empty mind, but the peace of a supported one. A mind that knows it doesn't have to solve everything to keep you alive. A mind that trusts you to handle life as it unfolds. A mind that was never broken, just waiting for you to come home to it. And when you finally do, the overthinking that once shaped every corner of your life begins to dissolve, leaving behind clarity, steadiness, and the gentle, grounding truth that you were never meant to carry this weight alone. You were meant to live, to feel, to breathe, and now, at last, you can.